just chilling. It's almost like a rags to riches, back to rags type of story. And here we go.
I don't know how to tell you, but I got this motherfucker stuffed like a motherfucking baked potato. So what you gotta do, get out the real shit, breathe. The real number got you fucked over.
Really living it like that you niggas is rapping about. That's another thing I'm gonna tell you, nigga. We living this shit for real, nigga. I'm talking about the $1 million joints, man, from state to state, man. We really doing it. And ask a nigga. If you don't believe me, ask a nigga that you know, that you can respect the word, nigga.
The year was 2000, and hip-hop was on the rise, steadily moving to the forefront of American pop culture. Crews and companies were emerging everywhere. Stars were being born every day. No alarm bells rang when an obscure but very well-funded entertainment company named Black Mafia Family entered the public eye. They were opulent, they were excessive. Known for arriving in lavish motorcade, congregating in droves, and buying out the bars and elite clubs in every major American city. But that was the culture. That was the business. By 2005, their brand had taken hold. BMF was regularly associated with A-list hip-hop acts such as Young Jeezy, Slim Thug, and Fabulous. At their high-water mark, billboards that read, "The world is BMF's," could be seen throughout major American cities, seemingly a testament to their success in the entertainment industry. But by the end of 2005, a sinister shadow was cast.
Tonight, 2 local men are in custody in connection with a major drug investigation. More than 200 pounds of cocaine, 100 pounds of marijuana, and as much as $1.5 million in cash were allegedly found at his home in California.
Agents say in this whole operation they seized 6 kilos of cocaine, 80 pounds of marijuana, and seized more than $1 million in cash and in assets. We expect to learn more about this operation in the coming days.
After years of covert law enforcement investigations, it was revealed that BMF was actually a cold, calculated criminal enterprise, hiding behind a very public disguise.
Yeah, after the motherfucking
Over the
government
course
used
of
them up.
15 years, the crew had made over $270
Government
million
involved
in
in make that money.
trafficking cocaine around the country. As the investigation unfolded, over 150 members of BMF were indicted, and the Black Mafia Family was named one of the largest domestic drug distribution organizations in American history.
You go out on the streets of Atlanta today, every street corner's got a guy that wants to commit a crime. Every street corner's got a guy that thinks he's the best drug dealer out there. But you know, you do have to ask yourself, was there something interesting or different about these guys? These are the guys that were willing to go one step further. They were the guys that were willing to innovate one step more than the next guy was. Incredibly self-confident, strong-willed, and willing to think outside the box. In order to run a big operation the kind that BMF did, you've got to be a planner, you've got to be a thinker, you've got to be someone who can imagine a future, where your business is growing and where your reach is growing. And most of the guys that you talk to on the streets, they're interested in getting their money today, right then, right there. And these guys, I think, they were willing to think beyond that. They wanted something bigger for themselves.
Man, y'all lived there and planned that whole
came from
thing.
Detroit.
I see
Came
through
from
all that
nothing
shit now.
and built like literally $270
Y'all allowed
million
them to get as
by
big as they
conservative
got.
estimates
Then y'all came back and
employing
shot
500
everything.
people. Who's described it to me, who's worked on it, has called it the biggest case they've ever worked on.
The whole idea of a Black Mafia family was like a ghost story. Cops told, like you would tell to your kids. There was no presence. You didn't see it. But if you ask people on the street, mention BMF, they wouldn't talk about it.
So it was very real to the people who were selling drugs and doing drugs, but to the rest of us, we had no proof that that existed.
Truthfully, a lot of stuff that sounded like urban legend sounded like too big and too much to be true. But that they were large-scale cocaine distributors moving hundreds and thousands of kilograms of cocaine in multiple states around the country from coast to coast, and essentially living like celebrities or better than celebrities. They were taunting us. You know, there's probably no secret to them that we were after them. They just thought they were untouchable. They were far enough removed that nothing was going to happen.
One of the investigators said, all cocaine is 3 generations away from being bad.
One part entertainment company, one part street crew. Black Mafia family was an urban dream come true. The combination was so seductive and so lucrative that during their peak, EMF had 400 people on their payroll.
I'm from the Black Mafia family, the biggest band in the world.
It's cross-branding, right? You've got the music, and you've got the product, and you've got the women, and you've got the, the image. All these things are kind of playing off one another. If you're talking about music, if you're talking about the drug trade in those days, everything was connected with BMF. That name just kept coming up over and over again. The mystique just built over and over again.
It took a lot of ability and leadership skills to hold together all the moving parts that they had going on, just like it does in any corporation or business.
They structured it like an organization where they had like their top level, the CEO, the COO, the CFO.
Then you had your middle managers who managed each one of the different cities in the different states. And then you had your logistics, your couriers. They were a very good crew as far as a drug organization.
They were really, really organized. They had a lot of people working for them. They had a lot of people eating off of them.
There's the caricature and the stereotype of what a gang leader is or what a drug lord is. It's New Jack City, it's Scarface. But the reality of it is you get success through planning, through patience. And I think those guys, they had a much more sophisticated view of what this was about. They'd say, I'm the drug lord and I'm going to act like a drug lord. They were focused on making money.
At the top of the organization stood 2 brothers. Demetrius Flannery, or Big Meech, was the face of the organization. The press-friendly CEO.
Demetrius tended to be more flamboyant. He was more public. He had a bigger-than-life persona, and he liked portraying that.
Terry, Southwest T, was the younger brother and had no interest in the attention. Seldom seen, he was the architect of the operation, the planner, the mastermind.
Terry was understated, very protective, and very shrewd.
Terry, on the other hand, was a businessman who was every bit as influential and competent as Demetrius, but tended to like to try to fly under the radar and stay low-key, low-profile a little more.
Terry was the quiet one. Terry was the brains behind it. He enjoyed his lifestyle.
He ran it more like a business than maybe a family.
Hey, happy holiday to y'all, man. What y'all got for the holiday? Hey, man, I'm trying to get everything together before next month kick in, man. And I want to get your apartment cleaned out. I was just coming up with a plan, but I need you. I need you, man. I don't like fucking with Arnold. I'm gonna have to go with Arnold. I don't got enough on him, I'm gonna tell the car on you. That's who you fucking with. That's good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Arnold, all right.
Everybody moved like brothers, and then everybody from different places. Milwaukee, St. Louis, Detroit, Texas, Atlanta, Cali, you know what I'm saying, Florida. We got people from everywhere, and everybody move as one. Everybody is prospering in some kind of way, in their own way. Every man plays his own role, and everything starts with the leader. I'm a good leader, so I got good people that follow. You know what I'm saying? It's simple.
The Black Mafia family was an ambition 20 years in the making, arising from the hard streets of Detroit. Meech and Terry got into the drug game for one simple reason. They no longer wanted to be poor. By the late 80s, Meech and Terry led a small drug ring, peddling crack cocaine at local high schools.
And that's not to say that everyone who lives in these neighborhoods buys into a criminal lifestyle. But in a lot of these neighborhoods where money is scarce, opportunity is scarce, most of those people, if you called them on it and said, how can you allow this stuff to happen right outside of your home? Most of them would turn around and say to you, well, how can you criticize me for this when I have nothing?
Terry and Demetrius Flannery grew up in the hard-scrabble area of southwest Detroit, right up against the cities of Ecorse and River Rouge. Very blue-collar, tough area. And they grew up on a dead-end street, 1555 South Edsel, a gray, nondescript home at the end of the street.
Meech had told me the gas would get turned off in the winter, they'd have no heat, and he watched his parents who worked have to struggle through that. I mean, he told me straight up, he's like, yeah, a job at McDonald's wasn't going to cut it. I learned that. There was another route for me. He's very unapologetic about that.
You get the Flannery back in the 80s, you get a couple guys who are kind of independent.
Keep them up from the politics, unpolitics, all the fucking
they don't have this monstrous organization and don't have the leadership skills and aren't as charismatic as they are in 2000.
You have reached the Sprint voicemail box of 6331. To leave a voice message, press 1, or just wait for the...
White boy, SOS, you left me in the jungle, man. It's the jungle all there, man.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. Listen to your message.
The Flannery brothers were on DEA's and IRS's and other law enforcement agencies' radar for quite some time.
All these rich motherfuckers in politics and shit ain't on nobody's radar.
Investigating another drug
Bunch of bullshit. As soon as the niggas start doing some shit, they want to see what the niggas doing. Ain't nobody looking to see what them white folk doing. Cause the FBI covering their ass.
There was information out there for years about the legend and the prowess of the Flannery brothers. They had become too big and too prolific, and it needed to be investigated.
I know they watch.
In a complex case like BMF and tracking down the two brothers, there were numerous vital steps that the DEA took that enabled them to put together a case that stands close to 10 years and involved the efforts of numerous branches of local and federal law.
They made
It wasn't
good
logistical
money.
nightmare, and the only way we were successful
Along with
was by
them.
working together with all county DEA counterparts, IRS counterparts, and other law enforcement counterparts all over
Yeah,
the
so y'all can make money with the situation before you take them down. 10 years, allowing drugs to come
And we
through.
built that
Fuck
relationship
y'all
up,
funky
built up
bitches.
trust, and we shared information seamlessly.
You know, my job is ranges of a puzzle.
A huge organization that's stretched across the whole United States. You just don't put that together in one day. It takes a lot of time, a lot of man-hours, a lot of cooperation with all the federal agencies and local police. If at any time any law enforcement wanted to take down their part of the case, this case would not have ripened to its fullest extent.
Yeah, so y'all making up money
The
off.
constant threat of law enforcement, snitching, and violence, Meech and Terry needed unwavering loyalty from their crew. Meech's natural generosity was the greatest reinforcement.
It don't make no difference if you the maid or if you the motherfucking bodyguard. Everybody get extras around here, fresh benefits. I'm driving this tonight. Niggas gonna be like, who's that? That's Blue with the GT Coupe.
Anything that you can do to engender loyalty is going to work in your favor. Companies and corporations do it through incentive programs and bonusing. In the criminal underworld, people do it through relationships.
Hello? Going up, though. Now I'm just calling to let you know, man. Pulled over in my truck for about 2-3 hours now, man. That's crazy, but that's the type of shit they do, though. They ain't find nothing in the truck. They ain't saying shit about the tinted windows. But they claim that they smell marijuana in my truck, and I don't even smoke in my truck. That's terrible. But it ain't nothing in there, so they feel like they did. No, what I'm saying is, they didn't smell no weed in there. I do not smoke in that truck at all, B. It's what I'm saying, period. They just probably want to piss me all on it, because the truck new and the car, all that shit look new for a young nigga. Probably ain't none of that shit in their names. That's why they do all that shit. Yeah, they talk I'll rap with you in the business. If you got a robbing ass boss, then you're gonna be a robbing ass crew. If you got a real boss who know how to sacrifice and take the bad along with the good and show his crew how to be men, then that's what you get. Everybody shining like new money. Ain't nobody.
That's cool, girl.
By actually putting family members in this organization on the site.
Why you doing this shit? You got low self-esteem.
Terry was talking to
You gotta pick up your low self-esteem, girlfriend.
Terry
realize can't nobody do it like you do it. And you got everything to do it.
$72,000 a year.
Do it a whole nother way.
They really produce loyalty through reward rather than through threat and punishment.
Your organization gave notoriety to people who felt they were part of something exciting and important.
They were very generous with those around them. They provided a lifestyle. A lot of time was spent in clubs. There were a lot of women around. A lot of these guys at the lower level, when they were part of this particular group, BMF, they had status when they walked through the door.
In BMF, if there wasn't a written code, there was definitely a spoken. They were all brothers. They all moved together. Meach preached that jealousy, envy, or the distraction of women among the group members was not welcome at all.
We don't fall out over those girls. We hit them all. They hit my hoes, I hit they hoes. The ones that don't want to be shared, that's your own personal one. Other than that, we ain't falling out over no hoes.
From the onset, Meach and Terry proved to be resourceful business partners capable of capitalizing on every opportunity. When Terry was younger, he was a bystander to a shootout, and his right eye was grazed by a stray bullet. Doctors botched the surgery, and he was awarded a cash settlement, so he used that money to establish a legitimate sedan service in Detroit. The sedan service not only provided a legitimate front to wash the drug money,
now the doctor covers your head, get on the surgery and shit.
But that actually became sort of the skeleton of a much more advanced fleet of vehicles that would eventually move thousands of kilos of cocaine across the country.
Yeah, you do it, girl. So I let that and beat your right now. Oh, you want to go pop finish it off? No, you still doing it. Pop, around.
Yeah, you better go home. You got things you got to take care of.
Yeah, I want to go home.
I have something to take care of.
You can like me. You can like you too.
Prior to the PA Boys takedown, law enforcement had perceived the brothers as mid-level traffickers, small-time players in a much larger state.
Later on,
In the mid-90s, these guys were at times delivering $300,000 to individuals who are sending that money down to St. Louis and on to Colombian sources. That's who they are.
But as the DEA started to build contacts and sources, an entirely new image was coming to light.
December of 03, early 04, they start contacting their sources to try and get as much information as they can on the Flannery brothers. Now they start hearing stories about Terry's got a mansion out in California, Meach has got places down in Atlanta, they're driving all these high-end vehicles. That's what you're hearing from sources.
For years,
not many people start doing some shit. They gotta be illegal. Oh, but watch this now.
There were no records of them ever having filed. Along with that, they each had about at least 5 or 6 aliases and had that many different fictitious driver's licenses in several different states.
From the mid-90s to early 2000, Meach and Terry went from a $1 million a year business to a $1 million a week business. The only way to achieve that kind of growth in the drug trade is to increase the supply of your product. And that usually means cutting out middlemen and getting closer to the source.
When you look at the industry with the drugs and how they're moving the drugs come here in the States, the American blacks don't really control that trade.
Demetrius Flannery went out to California. He just went out there looking for sources. He hooked up with one of the co-defendants, Wayne Joyner, a California guy who knew some Mexicans.
Meach and Terry may never have risen above middle-class dealers had they not met Wayne Joyner.
Yeah, y'all hook him up with the dude, man. Fuck.
Flannery brothers.
People ain't
Wayne
stupid no
Joyner
more.
was a drug trafficker from California who had good connections. He knew guys that could do houses. He knew the car guys. He knew
into Mexico. The Colombians are the world's major producers of cocaine and were back in the 80s and 90s. But when the DEA started to really hammer the cartel's transportation through the United States and the Caribbean and Florida, then the Mexican trafficking routes became more important, and they started paying the Mexican traffickers to take the cocaine in the United States through Mexico. Eventually, the Mexican cartels took over all of the transporting of the cocaine and getting it into the United States, about 90% of all the cocaine.
Securing the Mexican source provided Meach and Terry with almost an unlimited supply of uncut cocaine for a substantially lower price than they could get from any U.S. distributors.
But they were purchasing at the time 55 people, and in their work positions, they had used 600 kilos a month.
This allowed them to literally corner the market.
Goddamn.
Not every even top level drug dealer in a major city ever gets to that point. You have to have something special to get trust of the cartels.
They expanded their enterprise, establishing hubs in 11 states to unload their product. Terry moved to California to receive the bulk shipments. Meach moved to Atlanta, which was an ideal distribution hub for all of Eastern America.
There's about 10 different highway routes that you can take out of the city to get out of here. And that route going from Florida all the way up through to New York, Philadelphia, and Boston, you got to go through Atlanta to get to those places. It's just physically, it's a great place to be. And also, it's a big enough city and it already has enough of a drug culture of its own to provide cover for those people who are moving through the city itself.
Atlanta was definitely becoming a strategic location for the drug trade, but the culture attracted Meach too. By the late 90s, Atlanta had become a hotbed for activity for the hip-hop industry. Rappers were playing the streets with mixtapes, and famed producers like Jermaine Dupri, Outkast, Goody Mob, and Ludacris were attracting national attention. Hip-hop as a business has two very distinct worlds, the streets and the boardroom. As it became mainstream, hip-hop started generating more money than anyone expected. With the connection to the streets comes the element of the criminal underworld. There is no secret that hip-hop record labels were being started with drug money. Jay-Z, for example, has always been honest about his previous life and how he left paper bags filled with cash for radio DJs. Meach, too, was captivated with the allure of the music industry, and as he gained more money and power through his ever-expanding drug empire, he set his sights on conquering a new frontier.
Sold my dope.
When the Detroit DEA decided to investigate the Black Mafia family, they knew the organization was going to be tough to penetrate.
It was such a tight knit group. There was no way to get somebody. We could make buys for these other things, but as far as getting somebody into the organization itself, it wasn't going to happen.
But early on, Bob Bell and his team got a lucky break. Using confidential informants enabled the investigation. They were able to identify a phone number for a BMF manager named Benjamin Johnson. Shortly after, they successfully got a court-ordered wiretap to listen in on his phone calls. After only a few short weeks, the Detroit DEA struck gold.
A couple of weeks into the wiretap, we intercepted a call. We didn't have the person's name, but we immediately knew that it was Terry Flannery by his commanding voice and Benjamin Johnson's respect and deference for Terry.
What I do is fly to Florida and drive this car back to Detroit for me. Okay, we need to do that, son? Okay, that's not fly to what? Yes, sir. You gotta drive this car like you got to, sir, because the hurricane gonna come that way. Okay.
We immediately knew we had Terry and knew we had an important phone to target for the next wiretap.
Getting a wire on Terry's phone was the turning point in the DEA's investigation. They had finally infiltrated the inner sanctum. For Meach and Terry to successfully run a nationwide trafficking organization, they needed to establish a protective infrastructure. They set up stash houses in key hub cities. always in other people's names, and usually in mansions in upper-class neighborhoods.
There is something that you get for living in those kinds of neighborhoods, and one of them is it's a safe place, not just in terms of keeping it away from the police, but in terms of keeping it away from other offenders. Somebody knows that you got $9 million worth of drugs in your house. They're going to come looking for it.
The various stash houses had nicknames. There was the Elevator, the Gate, the White House, and then there was the infamous Space Mountain, the modern multi-million-dollar enclave that had a perfect wraparound driveway for limos to deliver 200 kilograms of cocaine, located in the heart of Buckhead, the wealthiest neighborhood in Atlanta.
Buckhead residents are snooty. They don't like outsiders, but how a large national black organization managed to, with the flash and the bling and the rims and the cars and the girls, how they managed to do this and nobody complained. In a neighborhood where they complain.
You're through, boss.
On your curb.
It's on its way to you right now.
More people on our backs about that. Yeah, we were making noise. But it was like, yeah, we made noise, but they never complained about him.
In charge of the stash house was J-Bo Brown, Meech's second in command.
J-Bo was really just kind of being the general manager with the MF. He would be like at the stash houses when the drugs would arrive. Like Meech would never be in the same drugs or anything like that. So it's almost like doing some of the dirty work that Meech really couldn't do or wouldn't do. So he was the guy who was really just running the ships.
Another innovation that the two brothers used, which was not all too uncommon, was sophisticated traps in their vehicles to hide the cocaine in the mud city to city.
You have cars like this, and they want to build secret compartments. How does that work?
You have people that sell jewelry for a living. They need to carry around their products. They need to carry around money. Sometimes they have weapons for their personal protection. It varies according to what you want to put into the vehicle. Basically, in a vehicle like this, you know, we could take this entire area. We could take that carpet and we can cut it. We can reattach it to a piece of aluminum and bolt that to a welded enclosure under the vehicle. Then we can make that piece pop open. We can make it motorized up. We can make it airtight. We can make it waterproof. We can make it however you want it, and it would look like there's nothing there. You can take this vehicle back to GM, and they wouldn't even know it was there.
They had a Lincoln limo. They had about $1 million in a secret compartment, and no one was able to find this money until 2 years later. They could be built that sophisticated.
Yeah. Every vehicle was a moving track. They were amazing. I had to admire their ingenuity.
They had real strict rules about like nobody who's below this level of management can even know how to open the traps.
The fucking FBI and everything fixed those cars up and did all that shit, man.
Basically be like,
it made them look bigger than what they was. Do you actually think that they will live there? Yeah, think people stupid.
These traps were high-tech, very sophisticated, electronic, hydraulic. Some of them had vacuum pumps in them to try to overcome or thwart drug detective canine. It would make it difficult.
We were able to seize a Hummer limo, and notwithstanding the best efforts of law enforcement to find the secret panels, we managed to miss it. I think a year or so later, the man who bought the limo managed to find $1 million in it.
On a trip to LA in 1999, Meech's dream of breaking into the music industry became possible. He was introduced to a young, aspiring artist named Karima Makai, who was rapping under the name LovE. They shared a common vision, and Meech took an immediate affection to the young artist. Shortly after, the two founded BMF Entertainment. For the entire lifespan of the record label, LovE was the only artist signed.
What we're focusing on right now is LovE. I believe that most labels take so much time out and focus on so many artists that you can never get the realness out of the one artist because you're focusing on 10 or 20 artists. That's why all our independent focus is on what we take off, then we take off. If we don't take off, then we don't want to take off. Simple.
The business that they chose to hide behind, to use as cover, was also an industry that was critical for improving their reputation and providing them with the social capital that they needed. It created loyalty, it created a mystique, it created interest, and it provided a fantastic cover for them. It was totally realistic. When you see these guys and say, well, they're part of the music industry, they look the part, they act the part, they understand the culture of the hip-hop lifestyle. It's not like they were trying to open up, you know, a bunch of McDonald's or something like that.
And this BMF Entertainment thing is more than just a record label, production, some niggas doing music, or just some street niggas. Man. This is really all about going state to state and linking up motherfuckers from the streets, man, from all over, no matter where you're from. No matter what you look like, how fat you are, or whatever. You know, niggas that got a little money and a lot of sense, man, we looking for it. Start making some black dollars out of it.
One of Big Meech's biggest self-proclaimed legacies was that he unified gangs from all over the country. Crips, Bloods, GDs, VPs. All stood together underneath his black flag.
You was putting their mess
We
under
got all
control.
type of niggas around here.
See, once you start
Short
putting their
niggas,
mess
tall
under
niggas,
control,
tall niggas, light
that's when
skin,
they
dark
had to
skin,
stop that.
braids, dreads, fat, whatever you want. We do it all. We don't discriminate. Matter of fact, after you leave here, you end up getting your teeth on something and coming up with something better. House, maybe kids get to go to school, private school, paid for, courtesy of the mom. You know what I'm saying? We pay. You know, that's simple. A lot of niggas don't like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this shit with us.
This phenomenon is a testament to how BMF grew.
Most guys who want to establish a drug empire, they're going to go off of the stereotype of what you believe you have to do to get there. And part of that is the violence.
With daily images of cartel-related bloodshed being broadcast from the southern borders, and gang violence running rampant in our own cities, we have an immediate prejudice that the drug trade goes hand in hand with violence. Meech and Terry took a different approach to extend their reach. Upon entering new territories, they presented themselves as businessmen, and through diplomacy, they created alliances with existing criminal entities.
They really do.
They kept their eye on the ball. Because, you know, you get enough bodies laying around, and law enforcement attention is going to come your way probably faster than when there's not that type of activity.
In a way, that's what made them so successful, because they never engaged in a lot of violence, so that the attention was never drawn to them in a way that it might be to another group of people.
As much as Meech was a natural negotiator, the bottom line was probably the most persuasive element in BMF's success. With their vast supply, the brothers offered kilos of coke for only $17 grand, $2,000 to $3,000 less than their competitors.
There's some serious wind out there, and you wouldn't even know it.
Opportunity, wrong phone. Huh? Wrong phone, what up, there? What up, hey? You ain't getting the new check for the new phone? My new check, which one? The last one I got? The new check. Which one's the phone that I get? Oh, yeah, I still got it. No, he ain't give it to me. He said he couldn't get a hold of it for some bullshit, and I had to leave it. You got the old phone? Yeah. You got it on? Yeah, I ain't got no time on it, though. He told me to bring out the time. Often, while we were intercepting Terry talking on a particular phone, he would be using push-to-talk phones in the background, having other conversations. So he had multiple phones going at any one time, and then of course had a reserve of phones for him and his organization members. So about the best thing we could do was Terry would transition from one phone to another to try to keep pace and spin to the next phone. And we successfully did that with about 3 of Terry's phones.
The DEA sat back and listened for 5 months as Terry laid out the foundations of their investigation.
It is from this monitoring that we're able to find out information about participants or co-conspirators. We're also able to determine whether or not there is any drug activity taking place.
We were able to listen to Terry direct the driver to take some kilograms of coke down the Louisville, Kentucky for distribution. That aided us in conducting a traffic stop and seizing 10 kilos in that particular load vehicle.
This case would have ended with the wiretap on Terry's phone. DEA had him directing a guy to take the dope down south. They intercepted that car, got the dope, but there was a decision made. DEA, IRS,
about letting everybody come into it, about letting it go further and further and making money off of while it's going further and further, and then put people in jail after.
Over the course of 5 months, the DEA compiled over 900 pages of transcripts from Terry's phone calls, but there was not one
I see through all that shit. I see through all that bullshit. Y'all did. That was some bullshit. They did y'all fucking with some bullshit.
Meech's theory was, don't sit on it, move it, and he enjoyed a reputation of distributing very pure kilograms. So on the street, Terry's cocaine was referred to as Moet. Not bad champagne, but Meech's referred to it as Cristal, top shelf champagne. A couple of months before we initiated our wiretap in April of 2004, while Demetrius was on house arrest down in the Atlanta area, his underboss, Chad Brown, was going around talking to Terry's customers saying, Terry's dope is no good. He dilutes it, it's poor quality, you should be buying dope from Demetrius and our side. That upset Terry very much. So Terry took a group of individuals and confronted Chad Brown in a house that was full of girls, his friends, and embarrassed him, and was screaming and yelling, waving the gun around, accusing him of attacking Terry's livelihood. Demetrius believed that Terry should have had that conversation with him out of loyalty for his side of the organization. He said, Terry may be my brother, but we're done. And it probably was the reason that we were unable to identify a phone for Demetrius and never successfully intercepted any of his phone calls.
We coming in at the top of the game. We got all the cars we want, all the houses we want, all the clothes we want, all the jewelry we want, and all the hoes. We don't need nothing else but to make good music.
And I'll stop right there to say this to all that's listening, if any that's going to listen.
Everything kind of makes sense up here.
To get everything is to lose something. Let me say that again to you and explain to you. To get everything is to lose something when you feel like you done got everything. Money ain't shit. Stardom ain't shit. Being important ain't shit. Telling the truth is the shit. Telling the truth and doing what's right is the shit. All the rest of the bullshit is just some shit that should be on the ground or on your shoe. Not you. You shouldn't be bullshit. So you shouldn't be doing bullshit as shit. And I say again, the kids on this game, they get a pass. They get a pass simply because their ass ain't shit and the kids. So they gonna do stupid shit. So I'm just saying, I'm gonna give y'all a little music there right fast. Yeah, we play some music right now. Why you finished talking?
By 2004, Meech had solidified himself as a public figure. He was actively sponsoring young rappers in and around Atlanta.
His father was a musician. He surrounded himself with musicians. I think that he had a genuine love of the rap scene in Atlanta in particular, which was blowing up big way at the time, in large part thanks to his willingness to sort of sponsor rappers. He really did think that if he could get one big break on his record label, that he might be able to stop with the illegal stuff. Maybe that's not reality, but that's what he said.
Meech pumped excessive amounts of money into Blue's hip-hop career, believing that his financial backing could launch a young rapper into stardom. At a time when most record labels were faltering and budgets for music videos were being trimmed, Meech spent a little over $500,000 on a little-known track, You're Still Here.
Instead of getting 5 artists, you know, put $100 a piece into each one of those artists, and you're doing everything small. When you put the whole $1 million or $500,000 behind Blue Da Vinci, now you got a big project, it look big and everything bubble. But if you just put $100,000 between these 5 artists, and you got a cheap project, nobody may not recognize none of the 5. BMF Entertainment is in the house, you guys. If y'all haven't seen it, you just don't know.
The hype seemed to have an impact. BMF's image, street credibility, and apparent success attracted many rising artists. Blue Da Vinci was seen in many music videos with Young Jeezy and Fabulous, and he was regularly collaborating with known acts including Jadakiss and Nelly.
They showing the holes, somebody was supposed to hold. That one. She ain't no hole, that's my old lady. Naked.
There was an intercepted call between Terry Flannery and his sister. And Terry
cool
reported out
dude.
to his sister. He was very frustrated with Demetrius, very angry over their split. He was very concerned that Demetrius' flamboyant lifestyle was going to cause law enforcement to identify what they were doing.
You want another one?
And bring them down. The irony of it was that Terry's calls were being intercepted by DEA.
How you doing today, son? I still feel like I'm on a tight test. When you got pulled over, you gave me a real name. I gave him everything, and you know what he gave me a problem about? That kid. What kid? About over there. About that other situation. That's what they said. They sent the people to the house about that. Yeah, because he went real crazy over that too. But he was mad because he couldn't stand nothing. That's why he did that too. Alright, so I know it's true for that. Okay, thank you, sir.
About the same time, the Detroit DEA was developing their investigation on Terry's side of the organization. Fulton County prosecutor Rand Sahi was overhearing rumors of the mysterious Black Mafia family's presence in Atlanta.
The whole idea of a Black Mafia family was like a ghost story. Cops told like you would tell it to your kids. There was no presence. You didn't see them anywhere. But if you asked people on the street and mentioned BMF, they wouldn't talk about it. So it was very real to the people who were selling drugs and doing drugs, but to the rest of us, we had no proof that existed.
The Atlanta side of the investigation began on the night of September 7th, 2003. Police were alerted to a shooting after an opposing group targeted a BMF stash house for a robbery.
We had a case, it was a shooting, a home invasion, where the people who were in the home actually shot the invaders.
I don't have to use
dropped the invaders off at the hospital,
I can talk to y'all
but they left
about
the can coke in the process of cleaning out the house. Their house had a large bank-type vault in it.
But bullshit is one thing that I'm not going to stop
That's where it started.
One of the men arrested at the house was one of Meech and Terry's key financial consultants.
It was Doc Marshall and Kenneth Hardy, the two defendants in that case.
Doc was very smart with numbers. He was really called the CFO of BMF. He ran all kinds of spreadsheets and reports for both Meech and Terry.
Bill Marshall is the kind of guy that drug traffickers need.
He knew how to work the financial side of things and obtain loans on cars and homes and cover up the source and ownership of those items.
Without a guy like Bill Marshall, they cannot enjoy the fruits of their labor.
The incident was not the first time Doc Marshall had come up on law enforcement's radar.
He first came on our radar during the roundup on the Third Avenue investigation. We seized a BMW 760, $125,000 car. The vehicle had been obtained through Bill Marshall's business called Exquisite Empire, which was based out of Atlanta.
As police searched the crime scene, they found a key notebook that contained obvious drug records of the trafficking organization, including associates' names and phone numbers and straw buyers' identities. The shooting at Doc Marshall's house was Atlanta's first taste of the Black Mafia family, but it was not its last. Meech himself made headlines 2 months later for his involvement in a high-profile double homicide. On the night of November 12, 2004, Big Meech was treated in the ER for a gunshot wound to his buttocks. Earlier that night, there was a shootout outside of Club Chaos, a hot nightclub in Atlanta. One of the men killed at the club was P. Diddy's bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones.
drugs that you would mess around with. You know, he had a very quick temper.
The story goes that Meach was hanging out with Jones's ex-girlfriend, and Jones would not have it.
An argument ensued, and then guns got drawn. And then Meach had his guy with him, and Wolf had his guy with him, and ultimately Wolf and his guy lost.
Meach was initially arrested for the double homicide. The Atlanta Police Department conducted a search on the mansion they believed to be Meach's residence.
They hit the Bel Air Lake House, the White House, which is a finery house. They go there looking for a gun. They believe Meach was finery house. Shooting at the club down there.
Although the murder weapon was never found, a notebook similar to the one seized at Doc Marshall's house was recovered. The Atlanta investigation was heating up, but Meach's murder charges would soon be dropped. No witnesses would come forward, and as Jones was shot from behind, there was not enough evidence to maintain the charges.
It was a justified shoot, no matter how bad everybody wanted to get Meach. That was one where the evidence pointed to the fact that they were defending themselves. Jones stepped out alive.
Over the course of the next 3 years, the Black Mafia family's reputation in Atlanta grew more imposing and violent.
They were violent. They would walk into clubs and take over the clubs. They wanted your girlfriend, they'd take your girlfriend. They wanted your car, they'll take your car. There was not a damn thing you could do about it.
The gang's numbers swelled, and their ominous presence loomed throughout the city's nightclubs.
There were stories of people getting thrown off balconies of bars, punched in the face, and kicked and stomped. That was the reality of it.
I like to see you come.
So for every grandmother whose grocery bill they paid for at Publix, there was 3 grandsons lying in the hospital somewhere with broken bones.
Atlanta had become a battleground, and the violence seemed to swirl around BMF and its associates. Often it was impulsive and senseless, but at times the moves were far more menacing.
I got some shit that'll stand you up, and I got some shit that'll take your life in this motherfucker. Nigga, this that 357, nigga, that Trey Pound, nigga, Magnum, nigga, with a lot of gunpowder behind each shot. It's that shit that's gonna blow you about 4 feet back, nigga. I only got 6 of these shots. I only need 1.
As more and more attention was being brought upon the organization, Meach became openly defiant in believing his hip-hop company could blur the line between art and reality.
Probably no secret to them that we were after them. They thought they were untouchable, and they were taunting us.
Blue, man, this man is interfering with my business. You need to get down here and talk to this man. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to get out this man. I don't know why somebody let him in the room to see what's going on anyway, man.
In 2004, he even commissioned billboards in Atlanta claiming the world was BMF's, a throwback to Scarface's mantra.
The billboards was when it was enough was enough. That billboard was always a bone of contention with the district attorney himself. The fact that they could just be so out there. He was very determined, and so he took the handcuffs off of us.
Meach was put under constant surveillance, and an Atlanta-based task force was assigned to topple the family. They used similar strategies of the Detroit DEA and got a wiretap on a low-level dealer.
The wires were running. They were manned 24/7. I don't believe that we ever came off of them. And then a lot of the agents, Chip Cook, Mike Hannon, these guys would come in when they weren't scheduled, just to go back through and review. They put the case together.
Their diligence paid off, and they were able to spin up several times, all the way up to a high-level favored by Big Meach himself.
They would watch The Wire on HBO, and they would talk about it. We'd sit there white-knuckled, the episodes where they would throw all the burgers away, and they would talk about, good things these idiots down here don't know how to wiretap. Or they get paranoid, go, let's just text, or they say, call me on this number. Talk about kilos of cocaine, be like, hey, did you pick up the trees? And, I got 50 trees sitting in my car. They gave us a blueprint of what they were going to do every time.
As the evidence mounted, the Atlanta Task Force conducted a series of takedowns on BMF associates and stash houses.
Meach had started to see ghosts. He was seeing cars and cops everywhere he went.
The heat was on Meach, and he knew it. He pulled his crew out of Atlanta and headed toward Miami.
assistant, Yogi. She disappeared first. Once she disappeared, we knew that this was in the wind, so we decided to do all the warrants. He was ordering everybody out. People were scrambling. It was almost anticlimactic. There was no arrests. We hit all the houses and everybody was gone.
Meach had adhered to a strict doctrine. Never talk on the phone, never be around the drugs or the money, never put anything in your own hand. He thought this code would insulate himself from law enforcement, but now he found himself on the run.
A lot of times, the dope never touches the hands of your top level guys. So sometimes you know to link them to that dope is to probably the money back to them.
The $1 billion joints, man, from state to state, man. We really, really do it.
Large sums of cash. Where's that coming from?
We caught a break with some of our intelligence and financial records, and that changed people's perception from it's an urban legend to, wow, these guys are actually making millions and millions of dollars and essentially living better than celebrities.
I mean, flying around in Learjets, staying in presidential suites, living in multi-million-dollar homes in
Like white people don't do that.
Meach was down in Miami. There was a place he was renting there, this gated house, at like 30 grand a month.
Every place we stay at, LA, Atlanta, Detroit, we have homes, our own homes. We don't have to go in and rent shit. We got our own house, we got our own cars, we got our own
How can I
homes,
help
we got
you?
our own clothes.
With pleasure. I will be in touch.
That the funds were legitimately being generated through the entertainment branch of BMF.
You don't know all the money that Demetrius Flannery spent in the clubs, or on clothes, or on girls, but we know from the investigation it was documented. $1 million plus in cars purchased, $400,000 in cash for a car, $250,000 in cash for a car, $100,000 in cash for a car. Terry Flannery's house on Mulholland Drive, 600 and some thousand cash through bank accounts to, make that purchase. To put a number on it, I mean, millions.
They felt that on the business side of things with the music, that's seen as so legitimate that it provides cover for all of these expenditures that you're engaging in.
Meach had a fleet of luxury cars fit for a sultan. Rolls-Royce Phantoms, Bentley Continentals, Lamborghinis.
Apparently he maybe had the only white Maybach in the United States. He had one shipped to himself, Saudi Arabia.
It wouldn't take an auditor very long to realize that there was way more money being spent than would be coming in through hip-hop.
For Meach's 36th birthday, he threw himself $1 million star-studded party at the Atlanta nightclub Compound, complete with champagne fountains and live exotic animals.
That's the part of him I really liked. Meach at the Jungle birthday party. I think those were the fun days of Meach. Him telling Atlanta he was there.
And then came the strip clubs. BMF was notorious for their overindulgence in the nightlife.
I was in the clubs at the time when the BMF guys were here in New York, where they were spending tons of money. Girls would just pick them up. They would have a payday when BMF came to town.
BMF would go out in droves. Each member would get his own $400 bottle of Cristal champagne.
The clubs either alternately loved it or hated it when they came in because they would sell out of champagne on the one hand, they'd have to deal with sort of the threat of violence.
And now y'all dudes out there talking about y'all making rain, man, we the originators of making it rain.
That's a message to everyone else. I've got so much money, I can literally throw it up in the air and not even care about it.
When we go out at night, whatever we spend, 50,000, 100,000 in the motherfucking club, we can afford to do it because we ain't bring it all with us. A lot of niggas don't like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this shit with us. None. Ain't no armored trucks pulling up at no funerals.
The best relationship and partnership in federal drug law enforcement are a group of DEA agents married up with a group of IRS agents. It's a whole other expertise and full-time job to exploit and uncover the layers of laundered money and items purchased secretly by nominees.
Typically, these people aren't going to have anything in their name, which was the case with the Flannery brothers. Absolutely nothing. They don't file tax returns. No assets. So what you have to do is start looking at family members. The house that Terry Flannery had in L.A., his girlfriend Denise Welsh, it's in her name. He sets up a company for her out there called Oracle Motorsports. Really doesn't do anything, but he's got all these high-end cars in there, which are his cars. Which he's got auto brokers out there that he's feeding money to, buying his cars, keeping him in their names.
For years, IRS agent Scartozzi traced the money back to Meech and Terry, continually uncovering more and more people who helped the two brothers to hide and launder their money.
Terry had a girlfriend here in Detroit. He had a house for her in Canton. Started looking at house. This young lady buy this house. Shows she put, $100 and some thousand down on it. Well, how she put that? Where'd that money come from? Cashier's checks that came out of a credit union. Where'd the money come from to fund those? It's just a matter. Again, you just build and build, piece and piece.
One unsuspected accomplice to the two brothers was the famed jeweler to the stars, Jacob Arabov.
He essentially, of course, is a businessman and is in business to make money. And Demetrius and Terry Flannery had a lot of money to spend, and they liked spending it on, besides cars and homes, on nice jewelry, very flamboyant jewelry. One watch that Terry bought was encrusted with diamonds. It was valued at about $100,000, in fact. Jacob, the jeweler, extended a $1 million line of credit to the brothers.
To leave a voice message, press 1, or just wait for the...
White boy, SOS, you left me.
To leave a voice message, press 1, or just wait for the...
White boy, SOS, you left me in the jungle, man. It's the jungle out there, man.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your...
On October 28, 2005, the long-awaited federal indictment for Demetrius and Terry Flannery was unsealed. 25 BMF members were initially charged with a range of felonies, including money laundering, conspiracy to distribute cocaine, and for the brothers, running a continuing criminal enterprise.
And Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton did the same shit, but on a whole nother level.
Really became not, was there enough evidence? It became keeping the evidence organized, trying to determine what evidence to use and what not to use. We had so much.
The DEA's case was based on wiretap evidence, both on Terry's and Meech's side of the organization. The IRS had compiled a massive amount of evidence demonstrating that the two brothers had been hiding and laundering huge sums of money, proceeds from illegal drug operations. Together, the DEA and the IRS had coordinated local police departments from all around the country and amassed enough evidence to demonstrate the extraordinary reach of the Black and Mafia man.
When initiating the investigation, Frank and myself and other agents went to great pains to try to identify random law enforcement contacts with members of the BMF. And in fact, we were able to identify approximately more than 500 kilograms worth of seizures from random law enforcement activity and several $1 million from money seizures.
We knew who the players were as far as...
Me about 70 or $40 million, and then seize $1 million after what you gonna do to run your drugs.
Analysis should be done of the phones that were carried, and the address books should be looked at, and there would be a common theme in the names.
You see all the crooked shit that's happening right now with Hillary
Investigation
Clinton.
from there on the vehicles,
All this shit is hoax.
often led to tying those vehicles and those individuals and those seizures back to the BMF.
On the lead up to the takedown, tensions were high. Years of hard work had gone into the investigation. They needed to catch Meech and Terry.
There was a concern that Terry and Demetrius might get away. They had passports. They were worldly. They had traveled to Europe and elsewhere and had the means to disappear. And if they disappeared, my way of thinking was that the case was a failure. But marshals doing what they do well. They came up with some information about Demetrius' whereabouts. They actually arrested Demetrius in Frisco, Texas on October 20th. Terry was taken into custody in the St. Louis, Missouri area the day of October 26th. And in pretty short order, we had all 25 of our defendants off the Detroit indictment in pocket.
Several of the 25 defendants immediately began to cooperate with the DEA, including one of Terry's most trusted managers.
This whole death before dishonor You know, that's all good when the money's flowing. But when the money dries up and there ain't nobody looking out for you, and then you yourself are looking at a pretty long sentence, the way I look at it, it's every man for himself.
We're just really trying to motivate niggas and let niggas, know that niggas is really out here getting it like this, man. It ain't hard to get. This shit ain't far away. All a nigga gotta do is get on a real serious grind, man, with a real group of niggas that ain't gonna fucking tell, nigga.
Another key defendant that turned was BMF CFO William Doc Marshall.
Bill Marshall, not unlike many other defendants in this investigation, began to cooperate, essentially looking for a way to reduce his future prison sentence.
He really laid out a lot of the financial stuff of the BMF organization. He really filled in the holes as far as how the straw buyers worked, how they moved money from city to city.
His information was very useful going forward. We went from 25 defendants to where we ended up, which was the conviction of 66 defendants in Detroit alone.
With the help of Doc Marshall and other cooperating defendants, the DEA was able to effectively dismantle the Black Mafia family. All in all, 125 members, associates, and relatives were indicted and convicted. Out of the 125 members indicted, only 8 went to trial. Just 2 days before their trial dates, Meach and Terry both pled guilty without cooperation. They were sentenced to 30 years.
Both Demetrius and Terry Flannery and
they ain't killed nobody.
All the rest of the members of the
They
organization
sold drugs.
realized that the evidence
Hillary
was
Clinton
absolutely overwhelming.
then laid up there and had people
30 years,
killed.
I suppose, seemed a little bit better.
Fuck y'all FBI agents. Fuck all y'all. Y'all a bunch of bullshit. Y'all go get who y'all want to go get. Who the government said go get. Then you go get your own ass. Some bullshit. When you sit there and you really think about what the truth is. The truth is, they don't never want a nigga to never do nothing to come up with themselves. I'm just saying. What these niggas did was wrong. Yeah,
The financial judgment.
But it is what it is. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, them bitches sold drugs. They even got a motherfucker exonerated. Shit.
Conservatively convert those
Bullshit.
dollars
That's
into
just
kilos.
your white
Talking
privilege.
about the distribution of between 15 and 18,000 kilograms of cocaine was during the life of this conspiracy. And this one of the largest homegrown domestic distribution organizations in the history of our country.
I wish I could be there tonight, but God knows I wish I could be there tonight. But one day soon, I'll be there with God's blessing. I just want to thank everybody for coming. Hope they enjoyed it. Don't want to take up no more of your time. Just have a time in your life, and I'll see somebody in the morning.
At the end of that, though, I'm Mr. Glasses. Real love. TLC. It's time for a total life change. It's time for you to change your life totally for a change. Go get this tea.
So you were late because you were out